Hello YouTube, it is Thursday the 8th of May and this is day 22 of my VEDA project. Now you may have noticed that I am looking a little smarter, in fact a lot smarter than I normally do of a day. That is because this evening I am going to two events. The first is the final showcase of the Signet students at the Signet Theatre School here in Exeter, which I'm heading to now, and after that I will be going to an open mic night where I will be singing a few songs made famous by Frank Sinatra, Bobby Darin and so on, so I thought if I'm going to do swing I would dress the part. But enough of such nonsense, on with the topic of today's VEDA, which is the final question from vloggers that was taken at the Exeter gathering on the 12th of April, and I've saved this one for last deliberately. This final question comes from my very good friend Sam Burns, also known as WYSIWYG88, and this is the question that he posed me.
Hello John, this is my question for you. If you had to watch one of the following films for the rest of eternity, which would it be and why? Batman and Robin, or the Sean Bean remake of The Hitcher? I'd be interested to know your answer.
This is the part where I normally say thank you for your question, Sam, but for you, I'm not going to. In fact, Samwise, I condemn you to 1,000 hells for your question, because as innocuous as it sounds, you know very well that you have struck the giant nerve that runs all the way through my system with regards to both of these dire travesties of celluloid. What you have asked me, Sam, is the cinematic equivalent of whether I would prefer to be Prometheus, Loki, or Sisyphus in my eternal punishment. And I'm not sure I've done anything to deserve that kind of treatment. So why this hatred for these two films? Well, in the case of Batman and Robin, it's because it's bad. And it is so bad. Batman Forever had its faults, but it was still an enjoyable film. Batman and Robin took every element of enjoyability that Tim Burton had put into the franchise and Joel Schumacher had maintained in Batman Forever and removed it clinically and surgically. Now, I admit, I didn't actually see Batman and Robin until last year. I didn't feel I needed to. But someone argued that it was impossible for me to have a proper opinion of it unless I'd seen it myself, which is not an argument I agree with, but for the sake of sanity, I agreed to do it. And oh my God, it was the most painful experience I've had in front of a film in my life. As for the other film, well, I confess that I haven't seen the Sean Bean version of The Hitcher. However, I am a huge fan of the Rutger Hauer original version from, I think, 1986. But The Hitcher is an example of a pet hate of mine, which is the endless and unnecessary remakes of classic horror films by Michael Bay's production company, in particular, Platinum Dunes. Now, as I say, the original with Rutger Hauer and C. Thomas Howell is a classic. I love it. As far as I'm concerned, it can't be improved upon. And there's no reason to make another version of a film which is a classic. From what I've heard from the rumours on the grapevine, Michael Bay's next step on the horror movie remake is to do that little-known film by that unknown director, The Birds, by Alfred Hitchcock. Now, everything that I've read about the remake and the synopsis of it and so on suggests that they have completely missed the point of everything done by Robert Harmon as the director of the first film. They use gratuitous and thoughtless violence on screen instead of using suggestion and a hint of things off screen in order to keep the suspense and allow the imagination to do most of the work. Also, instead of the part of Jim played by C. Thomas Howell, you have a couple travelling across Texas and picking up the Hitcher, which completely changes the dynamic of the entire film to have two people against the Hitcher rather than one man on his own and the cat and mouse game that is played there. It makes me wonder, if you're going to do a film that changes the dynamic that much from the original, why not do an original film on the same themes? But that said, of the two films, I think I would prefer to watch the Sean Bean version of The Hitcher, if I had to for eternity, rather than Batman and Robin. And here's why. Batman and Robin is a bad film. The Hitcher is a bad remake. It's quite possible that if you can ignore the original version, The Hitcher may not be a bad film in its own right. And it does have Sean Bean, who I've heard is very good in the lead role. So, there's my answer for you, Sam. If I had to pick one of those two films to watch for eternity, I would pick The Hitcher. Right, that's the end of this vlog, and that is the end of my Questions from Vloggers series. I will have to come up with something different to do tomorrow, but until then, stay safe, be well, bye for now.